Hello, my dear friends. What's happening? It's your boy Clear here. Grateful to be here with you today. Today, I want to talk about what it means to be a man and redefining that for myself and recognizing that as I'm redefining it for myself, I'm also redefining it for the rest of humankind, the rest of this planet, and stretching outward into our solar system, into our galaxy, into our universe, and into this corner of the multiversal web of energy, ultimately. So it feels like a big responsibility, but at the same time, it's the easiest thing I've ever done because it is simply who I am. How do I know I'm a man? Because when I say I'm a man, it feels true in my body. Also, I'm non-binary. I know that my spirit is infinite and flows with every different type and flavor of energy that the multiverse has to offer. That's simply something I know about myself. And as I am masculinizing, for those of you who don't know, I'm coming up to 12 months on testosterone. I got my top surgery a few months ago. And as my physical shell has been masculinizing, there's been so much that I have been processing around what it means to be a man, what it means to be someone with masculine privilege, what it means to be somebody who also has the oppression that masculine people experience, which is very specific. And I will never be someone, not in this lifetime, who has grown up with the specific types of oppression that men and masculine young people get forced onto them, i.e., doing feminine things and having that mean that you're gay as if that's a bad thing. For the record, I am gay. So I love being gay. But I recognize that if I had been assigned male at birth and grown up as flamboyant and fabulous as I am and as I did, I would have been bullied a lot and I would have a lot of trauma from people saying and implying that I was less than because of my femininity, because of my queerness, because of my love of frilly things and flowers and magic and dancing and musical theater and all the beautiful melange of feminine experiences that I got to embody and play with as a young person. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I got to have all those experiences fully and wholeheartedly. And yeah, being trans has its own difficulties. Yeah, I'm really grateful to be where I am and to be who I am. And it feels good to be in that place where I can really sit in gratitude with the fact that I got to be feminine in a specific way growing up without being bullied, without being like prosecuted, right? Again, there are people on this planet right now who are being killed because they are feminine men. I know some of them. A friend of mine, Rama, in Uganda, from Uganda, he's now at a refugee camp in Kenya because he could not live in Uganda because it's illegal to be gay there, to be queer there, right? So this policing and oppression, direct oppression of feminine men is something that we've seen in history. And the new masculinity movement is about embracing all parts of ourselves as men and as masculine people, all parts of ourselves. There has been this myth that we are less men. We are lesser than, or we are not as man if we are feminine. And this is anything but the truth, my friends. And although I'm saying it explicitly right now, I know that my life is going to be my legacy. How I live, how I embrace myself, how I embrace my truth, and the multiplicity of gendered attributes that exist within and as me. That is going to be the true teaching that I impart to the vibrational sphere that is the world. And that's great to know. I can speak about it here and it's exciting for me. Clearly, I'm fired up. I'm loving speaking about it here. And I recognize that it really is going to be my life that is going to be my legacy. How I embody this new masculinity movement, this new wave of men and masculine people embracing all parts of themselves. And there's someone named Alok V. Menon who was on the, what's it called? The Man Up podcast or the Man Enough podcast. Alok is a non-binary person who just was spitting some bars on this podcast. It's up on their Instagram if you follow Alok V. Menon. you should definitely follow them if you don't already. They're an incredible resource for all things breaking down gender and understanding how the gender binary was even created. It's racist in its roots. It's made to oppress people, right? It's not something that we actually had a lot of focus on earlier on as humanity. It's not something that's intrinsic to us and to our cultures. So as somebody who is stepping into a more masculine embodiment and still retaining my femininity, I get to be a steward now of this beautiful new wave of men who are their whole selves. I believe that it was because men have been so oppressed and dehumanized. Like when we think about what makes someone a human, what makes humans different than so many of the other beautiful animal species we see on this planet, it's the fact that we are aware of our emotions and able to embody, experience, process, and articulate our emotions. I'm not saying that other animals don't feel emotions and don't articulate their emotions to each other, because I'm sure that they do, especially dolphins. Shout outs to dolphins, and other sorts of animals. And that's a superpower, and that's something that really does define us as humans, is our ability to feel and articulate our emotions. And men and masculine people have had that taken away from them. It's like you're only allowed to feel anger, but if you show sadness or fear, then immediately men have their personhood stripped of them. It's like, you're not a man. You're not a man anymore. And what that really means is like, you're not enough as a human anymore. You're not fitting into who we need you to be as a human. Therefore, you're not enough and you're ostracized. How heartbreaking is that? Like I can feel into that energy and just the brokenness of that paradigm. And it breaks my heart. So it's because men have been so dehumanized and broken in that way that I believe they have been so oppressive to female people and feminine people. And I am very much so a feminist. It was always a big part of my life before I transitioned to, and it still is a big part of my life and who I am and how I see the world. And that was always something that I saw pre-transition as well, that men have been so dehumanized that they then were further oppressing and dehumanizing the others around them, women, feminine people, queer people. And so when we think about healing the root that we see that really do nothing for us as a global community and as a community of this species, when we think about really healing the root of the perils of patriarchy, we have to go to the men and the masculine people and say, bro, you are enough. You are enough in all of who you are, in all your multiplicity, in all your feelings, in all your tenderness. And yes, you are strong. And yes, you are tender. And you are stronger because you allow yourself to be tender. And anyone who menstruates knows this. There is such a strength that we have the opportunity to hold when we are coming up to the time when we're bleeding in the month. There's such a tenderness. And for me, I remember when I would bleed in the first day or two, it's like it would give me this ability to see deeply into all these emotions that I held and all these backstories that were, going on underneath whatever I was dealing with in my life. I had to be strong in order to be present with those emotions. I had to be strong in order to hold myself in that. And it made me a stronger person. I am stronger because of my vulnerability, because of my tenderness. And women and feminine people are strong because of their vulnerability and their tenderness, whether or not you menstruate, right? And I paint this to paint the picture that folks of all genders, including men and masculine people, are stronger when we allow ourselves to sit in the truth of our emotions and hold true space for those emotions. This is the new masculinity movement that I'm talking about, baby. This is what it means to be a man. All you have to do to be a man is say, I'm a man, and have it feel true in your body, period, end of story, bottom line. If you are a man, if you are a masculine person, You still have access to all parts of who you are, even though society tried to strip that from you, even though the culture got twisted along the way because of greed. And at the end of the day, we're all trying to feel safe and like we're enough and like we're loved, right? And when we rewind colonial patriarchy and we rewind all the myths about masculinity, and we come back to the truth of just being a beautiful beating heart embodied in a little flesh sack, right? Embodied in a body. When we come back to the pure essence of who we are as men and masculine people, there is love. There's just love. And we now get to act from that place of love. That is strength. That is masculinity. It's also femininity. It's existence. And we are allowed to exist in our wholeness, in our fullness as men. We don't need to cut off limbs in order to be man enough, to exist and to deserve a space on this planet as a male identified person. Okay? And it's deep and it's complex. And this is what we're doing now. This is how it is now. And I wanted to speak on it because I'm inspired. And I'm going to see my dad today. I'm going to be spending a couple of weeks with him. And I'm sitting in his office right now. He's not here, but I'm sitting in his office. So I'm feeling the legacy of masculinity and manhood that exists in my family. There's a picture of my grandfather on the wall. And I recognize that I'm carrying on the family legacy. I'm standing on the shoulders of the men who have come before me in my family. And I am redefining what it means to be a man in this family. I am redefining what it means to steward masculinity in my bloodline. And I'm changing it. I'm changing the game. I'm changing the patterns of masculinity that exist in my family. This is deep work for me. I'm not an expert yet. I'm still learning. I'm still processing so much. And I am so grateful to be processing and having it click that I don't have to be any sort of man specifically in order to be man enough. I don't have to perform masculinity in order to be masculine enough. I am enough simply by the fact that I exist. I am a man simply because I know I am when it sits in my body. I know I am non-binary because it sits in my body. And I know that I'm not alone in this, that there's a whole wave of men and masculine people, cis, trans, and non-binary, who are coming forward to themselves right now in their fullness, in their beauty, in their vibrancy, and in the diversity of who we are, the multiplicity of who we are as people. As people. This is what's valuable now on earth. As men, what is valuable about us is our ability to break down toxic masculine standards. It's our ability to live into this new masculine embodiment of love. Love being the root of who we are. Welcoming in energies that we may have called feminine and that may, yes, be feminine in their essence. Welcoming those in, integrating them into who we are, to become better men, to better care for our communities, to better care for the feminine people around us, to better care for the masculine people around us, to better care for ourselves, to better care for the planet. Widening our scope to be less about the individual and more about the community. Recognizing that we have nothing to prove, men. You don't need to prove you're man enough. You are you enough. And you belong here. And you matter and you're loved. I love you so much. Thank you for being here and being a part of this wave with me. I'm not alone. I'm not alone and you're not alone. So with that, my brothers, my siblings, and my sisters who are watching, thank you all for being here with me today. If you vibe, subscribe. If you like, give me one of these. Give me one of these. If there's a button for this today, who knows? Maybe. And I'm sending you all so much love. And I will talk to you next week, okay? Peace and blessings.